Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios in Hythe, Kent, Southeast England, just near the English Channel, where we've established a little BBT enclave where we're producing audiobooks for the BBT of Srila Prabhupada's major works. And you'll be happy to know that the CC audio files, Chaitanya Charitamrita, have begun to come back to us mastered, and they're brilliantly mastered. And I think everyone's going to be very, very happy. So we're coming close to the end. And that's all the news that's fit to speak at the moment. Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Mahima Stotram from Sri Krishna Lila Stava by Srila Sanatana Goswami sets the tone and the atmosphere for reading the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Beautiful glorifications of the Bhagavatam by the senior disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu direct. It goes like this. Sarva Shastra Dipiyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabho, Kalidvandoditaditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya, Prema Varshakshadaya Te, Sarvada Sarvasevyaya, Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin, Madguru Man Mahadana, Man Nistadaga Mad Bhagya, Mad Ananda Namostude. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin adini chochatakada hanamun chagada chinmam premna ritkatayokspura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we reached the third chapter of the first canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The chapter is titled, Krishna is the source of all incarnations. And in this chapter, Sutta Goswami will answer the inquiries of the sages of Naimisharanya, explaining the incarnations of Krishna. Text 1. Sutta said, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus at first there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universes. Purport. The Bhagavad Gita states that the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, maintains these material universes by extending his plenary expansions. So this Purusha form is the confirmation of the same principle. The original personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, or Lord Krishna, who was famous as the son of the king of Vasudeva, or King Nanda, is full with all opulences, all wealth, all potency, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. Part of his opulence is manifested as impersonal Brahman, and part of his opulence is manifested as Paramatma. This Purusha feature of the same personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the original Paramatma, manifestation of the Lord. There are 3 Purusha features who affect the material creation, and this form, who is known as Karanodakashayi, Vishnu, is the first of the 3. The others are known as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and the Chirodakashayi Vishnu, which we shall know one after another. The innumerable universes are generated from the skin holes of this Karanodakashayi Vishnu, and in each and every one of the universes, the Lord enters as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned also. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also mentioned that the material world is created at certain intervals and then again destroyed. This creation and destruction are done by the Supreme Will because of the conditioned souls, or the Nitya-Baddha living beings. The Nitya-Baddhas, or eternally conditioned souls, have the sense of individuality, or ahankara, which dictates them sense enjoyment, which they are unable to have constitutionally. The Lord is the only enjoyer, and all others are enjoyed. The living beings are predominated enjoyers, but the eternally conditioned souls, forgetful of this constitutional position, have strong aspirations to enjoy. The chance to enjoy matter is given to the conditioned souls in the material world. And side by side, they are given the chance to understand their real constitutional position. Those fortunate living entities who catch the truth and surrender unto the lotus feet of Vasudeva after many, many births in the material world, join the eternally liberated souls, and thus are allowed to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. After this, such fortunate living entities need not come again within the occasional material creation. But those who cannot catch the constitutional truth are again merged into the Mahatattva at the time of the annihilation of the material creation. When the creation is again set up, this Mahatattva is again let loose. This Mahatattva contains all the ingredients of the material manifestations, including the conditioned souls. Primarily, this Mahatattva is divided into 16 parts, namely the 5 gross material elements and the 11 working instruments or senses. It is like the cloud in the clear sky. In the spiritual sky, the effulgence of Brahman is spread all around, and the whole system is dazzling in spiritual light. The Mahatattva is assembled in some corner of the vast unlimited spiritual sky, and the part which is thus covered by the Mahatattva is called the material sky. This part of the spiritual sky is called the Mahatattva. This part of the spiritual sky, called the Mahatattva, is only an insignificant portion of the whole spiritual sky. And within this Mahatattva, there are innumerable universes. All these universes are collectively produced by the Karnodakashayi Vishnu, called also the Maha-Vishnu, who simply throws his glance to impregnate the material sky. Text 2. A part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. From the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifest. Purport. The first Purusha is the Karnodakashayi Vishnu. From his skin holes, innumerable universes have sprung up. In each and every universe, the Purusha enters as the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. He is lying within the half of the universe which is full with water of his body. And from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu has sprung the stem of the lotus flower, the birthplace of Brahma, who is the father of all living beings and the master of all the demigod engineers engaged in the perfect design and working of the universal order. Within the stem of the lotus, there are 14 divisions of planetary systems, and the earthly planets are situated in the middle. Upwards, there are other, better planetary systems, and the topmost system is called Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Downwards from the earthly planetary system, there are 7 lower planetary systems inhabited by the Asuras and similar other materialistic living beings. From Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, there is expansion of the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, who is the collective Paramatma of all living beings. He is called Hari, and from him all incarnations within the universe are expanded. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Purusha Avatara is manifested in 3 features. First, the Karnodakashayi, who creates the aggregate material ingredients in the Mahatattva. Second, the Garbhodakashayi, who enters in each and every universe. And third, the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, who is the Paramatma of every material object, organic or inorganic. One who knows these plenary features of the personality of Godhead knows Godhead properly, and thus the knower becomes freed from the material conditions of birth, death, old age, and disease, as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. In this shloka, the subject matter of the Maha-Vishnu is summarized. The Maha-Vishnu lies down in some part of the spiritual sky by his own free will. Thus, he lies on the ocean of Kṛṣṇa, from where he glances over his material nature, and the Mahatattva is at once created. Thus, electrified by the power of the Lord, the material nature at once creates innumerable universes, just as in due course a tree decorates itself with innumerable grown fruits. The seed of the tree is sown by the cultivator, and the tree or creeper is in due course becomes manifested with so many fruits. Nothing can take place without a cause. The Karna ocean is therefore called the causal ocean. Karna means causal. We should not foolishly accept the atheistic theory of creation. The description of the atheists is given in the Bhagavad Gita. The atheist does not believe in the Creator, but he cannot give a good theory to explain the creation. Material nature has no power to create without the power of the Purusha, just as a Prakriti or woman cannot produce a child without the connection of a Purusha, a man or man. The Purusha impregnates and the Prakriti delivers. We should not expect milk from the fleshy bags on the neck of a goat, although they look like breastly nipples. Similarly, we should not expect any creative power from the material ingredients. We must believe in the power of the Purusha who impregnates Prakriti or nature. Before the Lord wished to lie down in meditation, the material energy created innumerable universes at once, and in each of them the Lord lay down, and thus all the planets and the different paraphernalia was created at once by the will of the Lord. The Lord has unlimited potencies, and thus he can act as he likes by perfect planning, although personally he has nothing to do. No one is greater than or equal to him. That is the verdict of the Vedas. Text 3. It is believed that the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha, but he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence, par excellence. Purport. The conception of the Virat Rupa, the conception of the Virat Rupa or Vishwarupa of the Supreme Absolute Truth is especially meant for the neophyte, who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the personality of Godhead. To him, a form means something of this material world, and therefore an opposite conception of the Absolute is necessary in the beginning to concentrate the mind on the power extension of the Lord. As stated above, the Lord extends his potency in the form of the Mahat Tattva, which includes all material ingredients. The extension of power by the Lord and the Lord himself personally are one in the sense. I'll say that again, excuse me. The extension of power by the Lord and the Lord himself personally are one in one sense, but at the same time, the Mahat Tattva is different from the Lord. Therefore, the potency of the Lord and the Lord are simultaneously different and non-different. The conception of the Virat Rupa, especially for the impersonalist, is thus non-different from the eternal form of the Lord. This eternal form of the Lord exists prior to the creation of the Mahatattva, and it is stressed here that the eternal form of the Lord is par excellence spiritual, or transcendental to the modes of material nature. The very same transcendental form of the Lord is manifested by his internal potency, and the formation of his multifarious manifestations of incarnations is always of the same transcendental quality, without any touch of the Mahat Tattva. Text 4. The devotees, with their perfect eyes, see the transcendental form of the Purusha, who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body, there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and are adorned with garlands. Purport. With our present materialized senses, we cannot perceive anything of the Transcendental Lord. Our present senses are to be rectified by the process of devotional service, and then the Lord Himself becomes revealed to us. In the Bhagavad Gita it is confirmed that the Transcendental Lord can be perceived only by pure devotional service. So it is confirmed in the Vedas that only devotional service can lead one to the side of the Lord, and that only devotional service can reveal Him. In the Brahma Samhita also, it is said that the Lord is always visible to the devotees whose eyes have been anointed with the tinge of devotional service. So we have to take information of the transcendental form of the Lord from persons who have actually seen Him with perfect eyes, smeared with devotional service. In the material world also, we do not always see things with our own eyes. We sometimes see through the experience of those who have actually seen or done things. If that is the process for experiencing a mundane object, it is more perfectly applicable in matters transcendental. So only with patience and perseverance can we realize the transcendental subject matter regarding the absolute truth and His different forms. He is formless to the neophytes, but he is in transcendental form to the expert servitor. Text 5. From this form, the second manifestation of the Purusha, is the source and indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities, like demigods, men, and others, are created. Purport. The Purusha, after creating innumerable universes in the Mahatattva, entered in each of them as the second Purusha, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. When he saw that within the universe there were only darkness and space, without a resting place, he filled half of the universe with water from his own perspiration and laid himself down on the same water. This water is called Garbhodaka. Then from his navel the stem of the lotus flower sprouted, and on the flower petals the birth of Brahma, or the master engineer of the universal plan, took place. Brahma became the engineer of the universe, and the Lord Himself took charge of the maintenance of the universe as Vishnu. Brahma was generated from the Rajaguna of Prakriti, or the mode of passion in nature, and Vishnu became the Lord of the mode of goodness. Vishnu, being transcendental to all the modes, is always aloof from material affection. This has already been explained. From Brahma, there is Rudra, Shiva, who is in charge of the mode of ignorance or darkness. He destroys the whole creation by the will of the Lord. Therefore, all three, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are incarnations of the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. From Brahma, the other demigods like Daksha, Marichi, Manu, and many others become incarnated to generate living entities within the universe. This Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is glorified in the Vedas in the hymns of Garbha Stuti, which begin with the description of the Lord as having thousands of heads, and so on. The Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is the Lord of the universe, and although he appears to be lying within the universe, he is always transcendental. This also has already been explained. The Vishnu, who is the plenary portion of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, is the supersoul of the universal life. He is known as the maintainer of the universe, or Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So the three features of the original Purusha are thus understood. And all the incarnations within the universe are emanations from this Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. In different millennia, there are different incarnations, and they are innumerable, although some of them are very prominent, such as Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Rama, Nrsimha, Vamana, and many others. These incarnations are called Leela incarnations. Then there are the qualitative incarnations, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva or Rudra, who take charge of the different modes of material nature. Lord Vishnu is non-different from the personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is in the marginal position between the personality of Godhead and the living entities, or jivas. Brahma is always a jiva tattva. The highest pious living being, or the greatest devotee of the Lord, is empowered with the potency of the Lord for creation, and he is called Brahma. His power is like the power of the sun, reflected in valuable stones and jewels. When there is no such living being to take charge of the post of Brahma, the Lord himself becomes a Brahma and takes charge of the post. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living being. He is the plenary portion of the Lord. But because Lord Shiva is in direct touch with material nature, he is not exactly in the same transcendental position as Lord Vishnu. The difference is like that between milk and yogurt. Yogurt is nothing but milk, and yet it cannot be used in place of milk. The next incarnations are the Manus. Within 1 day's duration of the life of Brahma, which is calculated by our solar year as 4,300,000 times 1,000 years, there are 14 Manus. Therefore, there are 420 Manus in 1 month of Brahma, and 5,040 Manus in 1 year of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years of his age, and therefore there are 5,040 times 100, or 504,000 Manus in the duration of Brahma's life. There are innumerable universes, with 1 Brahma in each of them, and all of them are created and annihilated during the breathing time of the Purusha. Therefore, one can simply imagine how many millions of Manus there are during 1 breath of the Purusha. Hare Krishna. The Manus who are prominent within this universe are as follows. Yajna as Swayambhuva Manu, Vibhu as Swarochisa Manu, Satyasena as Uttama Manu, Hari as Tamasa Manu, Vaikuntha as Raivata Manu, Ajita as Chakshusha Manu, Vamana as Vaivaswata Manu. The present age is under the Vaivaswata Manu. Sarvabhauma as Savarni Manu, Rishabha as Dakshashavarni Manu, Vishwaksena as Brahma Savarni Manu, Dharmasetu as Dharma Savarni Manu, Sudama as Rudra Savarni Manu, Yogeshwar as Deva Savarni Manu, and Brihad Manu as Indra Savarni Manu. These are the names of the set of 14 Manus covering 4,300,000,000 solar years, as described above. Then there are the Yuga avatars, or the incarnations of the millennia. The Yugas are known as Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. The incarnation of each Yuga is of a different color. The colors are white, red, black, and yellow. In the Dwapara Yuga, Lord Krishna in black color appeared, and in the Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya in yellow color appeared. So all the incarnations of the Lord are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. There is no scope for an impostor to become an incarnation, for an incarnation must be mentioned in the Shastra. An incarnation does not declare himself to be an incarnation of the Lord, but great sages agree by the symptoms mentioned in the revealed scriptures. The features of the incarnation and the particular type of mission which he has to execute are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Apart from the direct incarnations, there are innumerable empowered incarnations. They are also mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Such incarnations are directly as well as indirectly empowered. When they are directly empowered, they are called incarnations. But when they are indirectly empowered, they are called vibhutis. Directly empowered incarnations are the Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, Shesha, Ananta, and so on. As far as the vibhutis are concerned, they are very explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter. And for all these different types of incarnations, the fountainhead is the Garbhodakashayi, Vishnu. Text 6. First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were 4 unmarried sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, who, being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. Purport. The creation of the material world is effected, maintained, and then again annihilated at certain intervals. So there are different names of the creations in terms of the particular types of Brahma, the father of the living beings in the creation. The Kumaras, as above mentioned, appeared in the Kumara creation of the material world. And to teach us the process of Brahman realization, they underwent a severe type of disciplinary action as bachelors. These Kumaras are empowered incarnations, and before executing the severe type of disciplinary actions, all of them became qualified Brahmanas. This example suggests that one must first acquire the qualifications of a Brahmana, not simply by birth, but also by quality, and then one can undergo the process of Brahman realization. And we'll stop there. It's 7:45. We'll stop our readings, and now we're going to hear one after the other the different incarnations that have already been described. And these are just a few of them, but they're the prominent ones. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is actually a history of the universe from the beginning. Therefore, the first canto is called Creation. And now we just heard the first very slight outline of the incarnations. And later on, the creation will be more elaborately described in the second canto and fully described in the third canto by Kapila-Dev, the incarnation of, well, actually, in some Satya-yugas, he's the Yuga avatar. Okay, so Hare Krishna, and we're just waiting in anticipation for the reflections of the assembled sages. Hare Krishna.
First is from Sudevi Dasi.
Haribol Sudevi Dasi.
She says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, great news about the audiobooks.
Yes, it's very exciting for us. We've been working on it for a long time. And when we began, we were quite inexperienced. And therefore, the persons who were in the beginning recording, making the recording, were turning the volume up and down, more or less, I don't know how to put it. They just were turning it up and down randomly. And therefore, the overall sound was nice, the voice was nice, everything was nice, but the volume kept going up and down, which we found out much later on was due to many reasons. I won't go into the details now, but most of it is from inexperience on our part, not checking the volumes every morning when we recorded, and the settings on the microphone, and so many things. But by the grace of Bhakta Bland, who we met recently and is very experienced in sound engineering, he's got his master's degree in sound engineering, he's close to getting his PhD actually. And he is doing a wonderful job. The first files have come back and they are stunningly clean and without distortion, and maintain my voice, which was the fear that I had because of how it was recorded. It would be necessary to distort the voice in order to get the volume and other aspects of the sound to be proper. So it's 120 hours of listening. In other words, just to read it and just to hear it would take you more than a month. So who knows? Maybe we'll petition the Guinness Book of Records to see if there's some record for the longest audiobook so far until we do the Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Yes, it's very exciting. When it's out, then Bland will come here and we'll set up all the settings properly, professionally, so that we can record the Bhagavad Gita as it is next. So thank you for that comment and for reminding us about the audiobooks. And they're very important. Hare Krishna. As Vaisheshika Prabhu, my best friend, said, this will be the next big thing in spreading Krishna consciousness. Because so many people are saying the same thing. I can't read, I don't have time to read, I fall asleep when I'm reading, but I love to hear. And they're hearing through their AirPods and other ear devices, and in their cars and houses, and so, and the hearing is the only way as we've heard. Hearing is the only way that we can actually receive this knowledge. You can't receive it just from a book. You have to hear it. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thanks for letting us give that detail.
Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Haribol Gopakanya Devidasi.
Jai Ho Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his matchless Bhagavatam purports.
Yes, absolutely.
And your daily reading service, dear Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
From Rati Manjari.
Haribol Rati.
Jai Guru Maharaj. Flying in late tonight, I went on Sankirtan in another city. Happy to catch a glimpse of you. I will listen in peace later on.
Hare Krishna. That's why that YouTube channel is there. Hare Krishna.
From Gauranga Gopal.
Yes, Gauranga Gopal.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
I have a very stupid question. Why can't Krishna delegate Vishnu's service of maintenance of the material creation as Guna-avatar to an empowered jiva like Lord Brahma? Thank you and sorry for embarrassing myself.
It's not within the power of the jiva soul by nature to be able to do that. It's like each one of us has an acquired nature. Well, Krishna has a constitutional nature, and only he can manipulate the energy in such a way as to cause the created world. It's as simple as that. Why can't he? You should ask him. Why can't he delegate it to an individual soul? You can ask him when you meet him. One time, a devotee in San Francisco asked Prabhupada, why is Krishna blue? And Prabhupada looked at him and he said, why don't you ask him? In other words, saying, unless you're qualified to see it, then the answer is, the question is, what's the word? Absurd. Absurd inquiry. That is the nature of Vishnu. He is unlimited. And until, according to Jiva Goswami, until we actually accept fully that Krishna is inconceivably powerful, that he can do anything and everything, and he does things the way he wants to. Just like we try to do things the way we want to, but we can't. Hardly ever do we do things that we really want to. But that's just a reflection of Vishnu's power. His power is that he can do anything he wants. So this is called the sweet will of the Lord. It is his sweet will that he doesn't delegate, the power to maintain the universe and all the living beings. A living being can't do it. Can't do that. Just like Lord Shiva, he is very powerful. He's a kind of incarnation of Krishna. But he cannot do what Vishnu can do. And the example is given by milk and yogurt. You can turn the milk into yogurt, but you can't turn the yogurt back into milk. And you can't do the things with yogurt that you can do with milk, and vice versa. So everything has its constitutional position, its basic nature, with its potential to do things. And because Krishna and his incarnations are the source of everything, only they can maintain the universe. We have a problem maintaining just our own bodies, what to speak of a universe. Hare Krishna.
He also has a second question. Also, what is the Vibhuti Yoga chapter from the Bhagavad Gita referred to in the purport of verse 5?
That's the 10th chapter, the Opulences of Krishna, or the Opulences of the Supreme. And there, all the aspects of, not all of the aspects, but many of the prominent aspects of the material world are described to be vibhutis of Krishna. You know, the biggest mountains, the Himalayas, you know. Anyway, you can read that in the 10th chapter of the Gita.
From Bhakta-Rupa.
Jai Bhakta-Rupa.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thanks for reading this evening. This all sounds quite far out. A lotus from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu's navel, from which Lord Brahma, the master engineer of the universe, takes birth. Although it's far out, it's the best explanation of the creation of the universe I've heard. I certainly couldn't have imagined it up, and am inclined to believe it somehow or other.
Well, think of it this way. We have experience, not direct experience, but indirect experience of creation in this material world. In the womb of the woman, the man impregnates the soul into the body, and the body produces it. And in order to produce it, it has to create all the parts and all the of the machine called the material body, and all the functions and how they work. It's a design that no one can imagine. A human being cannot imagine, you know, doing such a thing. So when you think about it, you know, where's the body of the human being connected to the woman's body? Through the navel. So this is just a perverted reflection of how, from the navel of Lord Vishnu, everything is coming. This is how the codes of information and ingredients and the plan and the Vedas, they all come in this way. The design of the Vedas, of the universe, is contained in the Vedas, the codes of design. So someone may say, oh, that's incredible, or that's beyond belief, or whatever. But still they believe, you know, some Big Bang theory of some scientist that in the beginning there was a chunk, or in the beginning there was a point of singularity that somehow or other got hot and they exploded and the particles came out and it created this world. I mean, that doesn't sound fantastic? And yet most textbooks in the world, scientific textbooks, accept this theory. And it's nothing but a theory. We're hearing things that have been seen by others and experienced by others. And therefore there is a reason why we can accept it based on faith. Because there's no alternative. Anyway, that's a deep subject. We can go later into that. Hare Krishna.
From Daitari Haridas.
Daitari Haridas. Haribo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thanks again for reading to us. Really appreciate the basic point we heard tonight and hear often about Krishna possessing all opulences unlimitedly. When I see an exceptionally attractive person in the relative sense, or a top athlete of some sport I used to like to perform, I instantly become distracted or drawn to them. To think that there's an infinite being who possesses all these features to an unlimited capacity is amazing.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. That's a very nice reflection, very nice realization. It's exactly like that. Therefore, in the 7th chapter of the Gita, Krishna describes that he is the ability in man. When you see a man extraordinarily powerful, extraordinarily gifted, then you should understand that that's Krishna empowering the person. And that person deserves extra respect from us. The more the more disconnected we become from God consciousness and the real philosophy of life, the harder it is for us to actually appreciate the abilities in one another, and like you said, the inconceivable potencies of this material world. Every year they seem to find a new, species that they've never seen before that looks so incredible they can't believe how anything could exist. Therefore, our ability to imagine how things occurred in the beginning is zero. Hare Krishna.
From Anandamurti Devidasi.
Jai Anandamurti, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj and all assembled devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
To hear these information carefully, every day we can fix our mind to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thank you so much for every day.
Thank you for being there. Your ears are quite fit to hear, and therefore it's easy to read to devotees like yourself and all the devotees that are listening. Hare Krishna.
And from Bhaktarupa.
Yes, Bhaktarupa.
I heard somewhere that the perfection of the Mormon religion is essentially to attain a position like that of Brahma. Thought it was an interesting idea that different religious processes lead to different places.
Yeah, this is called imagination. This is called human imagination. They're imagining some, There was a nice, if you can look it up in the database, there was an interview between Prabhupada and some Mormons. And there Srila Prabhupada discusses their philosophy. So I encourage you to look that up in the database and hear how Prabhupada deals with such philosophies. Hare Krishna.
From Anandamurti.
Yes, Anandamurti.
One lady who is coming regular to the reading of Bhagavad Gita asked me the difference between Krishna and Shiva. I replied, from Nectar of Devotion, and I have also explained about the example of milk and yogurt. But if you have any more explanation, could you please elaborate on it?
Well, it's described in the Brahma Samhita that Lord Shiva has an eternal form as an aspect of Lord Vishnu. It's called Sada Shiva. And when the Lord glances at the material nature, that glance is transformed when it actually touches the material nature and becomes Shambhu, or Lord Shiva. So in that way, he's actually an expansion of Vishnu, but because he touches the material energy, and the intercourse between him and Prakriti, or Durga, impregnates the material nature, Prakriti. Therefore, he's considered to be the father of the material creation, and Prakriti is the mother. But because he actually contacts the material energy and engages in such activities his spirituality is compromised, and he becomes influenced to a certain extent, very slightly, but still in a way that's different from Vishnu or Krishna. Therefore, again, that was the source of the yogurt and milk analogy. When a certain medium touches milk, it turns it into yogurt. So when Vishnu touches the material energy, she's transformed into Shiva. Hare Krishna.
More from Daitari Haridas.
Yes, Daitari Haridas.
Sorry for the technical nature of my question, but from what I heard in the purport to the 5th verse, it sounded like Kshirodakashayi Vishnu is an incarnation of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and all incarnations of Vishnu that appear in the material world manifest through Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. It seemed to even say this for incarnations like Rama and Nrsimhadev. Perhaps I'm imposing my material conception of hierarchy, but I thought Kshirodakashayi Vishnu was just a temporary manifestation of Vishnu who is connected to this material world. But Rama and Nrsimhadev are almost on the level of Krishna.
That is the will of the Lord. That is the pastime of the Lord. The Lord doesn't have to conform to your assumptions and your idea of what it should be. That's the will of the Lord. He chooses to come through Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. And it's not, there's Maha-Vishnu. He glances. Then he expands himself into each universe. And then as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And from there, he expands himself into Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. And each one of those Vishnus has a different function, but they are Krishna, they're Vishnu. They are unlimited, but they have the same potency as Krishna, but they don't exhibit the full potencies or the full measure of qualities and activities that Krishna does. This is the will of the Lord. It's the will of the Lord that he wants to come through those incarnations. Sometimes when we think that Vishnu descends, he's not really descending. He's already everywhere. He can appear from any place at any time, he's in every single atom of the universe, personally. This is also described in the Brahma Samhita. So in order to understand these intricate details and how they fit together, you have to actually hear and try to understand, hear again, try to understand, and so forth, and inquire like you are inquiring, to be able to put the picture together so that we don't superimpose our ideas upon Krishna's ideas. There's no other way to understand these inconceivable potencies of Krishna and activities of Krishna, other than submissive oral reception. And as we become submissive to Krishna, because he is transcendental and unlimited, in relation to us, then our hearts become, fit mediums to be revealed. It's revealed knowledge. It's not something that you can manufacture yourself or imagine yourself. So by hearing and trying to understand the Bhagavatam, gradually everything is revealed to you. And it takes time, and it takes a lot of effort. Just see how much effort we have to take just to maintain this body. What to speak of the whole universe, what to speak of the whole spiritual and material worlds. It is beyond our mundane conception, beyond our mundane mind and intelligence, senses. There's no power that an infinitesimal part of Krishna has to imagine these things. We can only get it from submissive oral reception, and we can only get that receptivity through the purification of our mind and our senses by pure devotional service. And if you think about it, what we know now as opposed to what we knew before we started to read Prabhupada's books, there's a vast difference. There's a vast difference. And if we keep going and hearing Srila Prabhupada's books submissively, we will understand 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, or 50 years from now, a lot more. But no one can understand everything about Krishna completely. Because his potencies are unlimited. And we are limited. In our envy of Krishna, we want to be unlimited. Some of us caused us to come to this material world. And therefore it's hard for us to conceive of these, spiritual potencies, unlimited spiritual potencies. And that there's a person who can do whatever he wants. We want that. Yeah, I want to do whatever I want. And therefore, rather than submitting to Krishna, and he's perfectly willing to share his opulences with us, but he won't share if we don't love him. So beyond the doubts and beyond the attempts to conceive of why Krishna does this and why Krishna does that, is the platform of pure devotional service, in which the answers to these things are revealed, not by the process of erudite scholarship or speculative power of the mind and intelligence, but simply through the acceptance of the truth coming down from these personalities. Hare Krishna.
Daitari Haridas says, thank you for correcting my misconception and giving me a clearer understanding.
Well, Hare Krishna.
And Daya Nitai says, thank you, Sri the Guru Maharaj, for helping us understand.
Hare Krishna, thank you for hearing and yes, thank you. Well, this is quite heady stuff, as they say. It's quite heady stuff. How the universe is created, how it's maintained, and how it's annihilated. Even though we see in our day-to-day life all these energies going on, the creation, the maintenance, and the destruction of every single form in the material world. Well, the whole sum total of all the forms is the universal form, and that is also, as somebody pointed out, temporary manifestation. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Brinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Same time, same place, same topic. The unlimited energies and opulences and beauty and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow night.